My daughter sold me out to the FBI like I was some stranger on the street. While I watched federal agents tear apart her house, the house I'd helped her buy, Agent Torres smiled and said, "Your little girl's been recording every conversation you've had for months. Real dedicated informant." Every hug was a betrayal. Every "I love you, Mom" was a lie. She thought she was destroying me. She had no idea she was about to lose everything she'd ever cared about. Before we continue, please subscribe to stay updated on our latest stories and feel free to share your thoughts in the comments. The morning started with me making blueberry pancakes in Lydia's kitchen, humming while I worked. The granite countertops gleamed. I'd helped pick them out during their renovation last year. Every surface in this house held traces of my involvement, my care, my money. "Mom, you're literally the only person I trust anymore," Lydia said from the breakfast bar, cradling her coffee mug like a prayer. "Sometimes I feel like you're the only one who really gets me, you know?" Her brown eyes looked so earnest, so vulnerable. The same eyes that used to well up with tears when she'd broken something as a child. I'd always been a sucker for those eyes. "Tell me what's bothering you, sweetheart." I flipped another pancake, savoring this rare, peaceful moment before Garrett stumbled downstairs and the kids started demanding attention. "It's just work stuff. And Garrett's been acting weird lately, like he's hiding something from me." She picked at her nail polish, a nervous habit she'd had since high school. "Sometimes I record our fights on my phone, just so I can listen back and figure out what I did wrong. Is that crazy?" I laughed softly. "Not crazy at all. Sometimes we need to hear things from outside ourselves to understand them." "Exactly. You always get it. That's why I tell you everything. All my fears, all the stuff I can't say to anyone else." She smiled and warmth bloomed in my chest. "Even when you tell me about your work problems, it makes me feel closer to you, like we're really sharing our lives." My work problems. Last month, I'd confided in her about the Kozlov account, how they'd asked me to move money through shell companies, how the fees were suspiciously high, how I suspected it might not be completely legal but couldn't afford to lose the income. "You're my safe space too," I said, meaning it completely. That's when my phone buzzed on the counter. "Unknown number. Leave immediately. Don't explain. Don't grab anything. You have 2 minutes." My blood turned to ice. The tone wasn't threatening. It was urgent, protective. Someone was trying to save me from something. "What's wrong, Mom?" Lydia's voice seemed to come from underwater. Through the kitchen window, I spotted a black SUV parked where none had been before. My hands started shaking. "I need some air," I managed. I walked toward the front door on unsteady legs, my mind racing. The moment I stepped onto the porch, 3 vehicles converged on the driveway. Men in windbreakers emerged, FBI badges glinting in the morning sun. Agent Torres approached me with a predatory smile. "Mrs. Evangeline Cross, your daughter's been quite the helpful little informant, recording every conversation, taking detailed notes about your business dealings. Real dedicated girl you raised." Behind me, I heard the door open. Lydia's gasp sounded perfectly surprised. "Mom, what's happening?" I turned slowly to face her. She stood there in her silk pajamas, the Christmas gift I'd bought her, eyes wide with manufactured concern. For 31 years, I'd seen that exact expression whenever she was caught in a lie. "Your daughter contacted us months ago," Torres continued conversationally. "Said she was worried about illegal financial activities. Been feeding us information ever since. Even started recording your private conversations to make sure she got all the details right." The world crystallized into sharp, painful clarity. Every weekend visit, every tearful phone call, every moment she'd made me feel like the only person who truly understood her. It had all been performance, and I'd been the eager, devoted audience. "Mom?" Lydia's voice quivered with perfect concern. "What investigation? I don't understand what's happening." I studied her face, the furrowed brow, the slight tremor in her voice, the way she clutched her coffee mug like it was an anchor. Every micro-expression was flawlessly calibrated. How had I never noticed the rehearsed quality of her emotions? "Tell her about the recordings, Agent Torres," I said quietly. Lydia's grip tightened on the mug, just slightly. But I caught it. "Your daughter's been documenting your conversations for months," Torres said with obvious satisfaction. "Phone calls, face-to-face meetings, even video calls. Very thorough. She was particularly helpful when you discussed the Kozlov account. The name hit Lydia like a physical blow. Her face went pale, and for the first time all morning, her reaction looked genuinely unguarded. She'd forgotten I'd mentioned that name. Kozlov, she repeated, her voice smaller now. The money laundering operation you reported, Torres clarified. Your mother's been moving funds for them through her consulting business. Thanks to your detailed notes, we've been tracking every transaction. I watched my daughter process this information, watched her realize that her careful game had spiraled beyond her control. The morning light streaming through her front windows caught the slight sheen of sweat on her forehead. She looked between Torres and me, her composure finally cracking. I just thought, when Mom mentioned some client issues, I got worried. I made one phone call, just to ask what I should do if someone I loved might be involved in something illegal. Her voice carried that old familiar pleading tone, the same one she'd used when I'd caught her stealing from my wallet at 16, the same tone when she'd wrecked my car at 19 and tried to convince me it wasn't her fault. One phone call turned into months of cooperation, I said. My voice sounded strange to my own ears, detached, almost curious. Months of recording our private conversations, months of you making me feel like the only person who understood you. Tears started rolling down her cheeks now. Real tears this time, but not from guilt, from fear. She was finally understanding the magnitude of what she'd done. Mom, please. I was trying to protect you. I thought if I gave them small information, they'd realize you weren't really involved and leave you alone. Small information? I almost laughed. You documented every business relationship I have, every client, every account number I foolishly trusted you with. Lydia's eyes darted to Agent Torres, who was watching our exchange with undisguised interest. She'd expected him to be her ally in this moment, her protection from her mother's anger. Instead, he looked like a man enjoying a show. The beauty of it, Torres said conversationally, is that your daughter never asked what would happen to you. Never asked about witness protection or plea deals or minimum sentencing. She just kept feeding us information and cashing the cooperation payments we sent her. The coffee mug slipped from Lydia's hands and shattered on the kitchen floor. Coffee spread across the tile like dark blood. Cooperation payments? I repeated slowly. Lydia's mouth opened and closed soundlessly. This was the piece she'd never planned to reveal. Oh yes, Torres smiled. The FBI compensates valuable informants. Your daughter's earned quite a bit over the past few months. Haven't you, Lydia? The number hit me like a physical blow when he said it. $12,000, to be exact. Lydia had sold me out for the price of a used car. 3 hours later, I sat in a windowless FBI interview room, my hands folded calmly in my lap, while Torres and his partner, Agent Chen, grilled me about account numbers and wire transfers. I answered their questions with mechanical precision, my mind operating on 2 levels simultaneously. Surface level, cooperative mother caught in unfortunate circumstances. Deeper level, calculating every word, every pause, every micro-expression. They didn't know about the recordings I'd made. They didn't know about the backup drives hidden in 3 different states. They certainly didn't know about the insurance policy I'd taken out against exactly this scenario 6 months ago. Your daughter seemed genuinely concerned about your welfare, Torres said, sliding a stack of transcripts across the metal table. Look at this. She specifically asked us not to arrest you during a family gathering, said it would traumatize your grandchildren. I studied the pages with growing fascination. Lydia's handwriting filled the margins with detailed notes about my confession regarding Kozlov. Dates, times, exact quotes. She'd even drawn little diagrams showing money flow between accounts. The level of premeditation was breathtaking. She's always been thorough, I said quietly, running my finger along one of her annotations. Even as a child, she'd take notes when she was planning something important. What Torres couldn't see was my phone buzzing silently in my pocket. Text messages from Dmitry Kozlov's attorney, well, the man the FBI thought was Kozlov's attorney. He'd been waiting for this call for months, the signal that meant it was time to activate our contingency plan, the plan Lydia had never known about. We'll need you to cooperate fully. Torres continued, leaning back in his chair with the confidence of a man who thought he held all the cards. Help us understand the scope of the operation. Your daughter's information has been invaluable, but we need details only you can provide." I nodded earnestly, letting my voice crack just slightly. "Of course. I want to make this right. I never meant for it to go this far." Behind my cooperative mask, I was already 3 moves ahead. Lydia thought she'd destroyed her mother to save herself. By tomorrow morning, she would understand what real destruction looked like. "There's just one thing I don't understand," I said, tilting my head with perfect confusion. If Lydia was so concerned about my welfare, why didn't she just ask me directly about these clients? We talk about everything. Taurus and Chen exchanged a glance. "She said she tried, but you became defensive and secretive when she brought up your work." I let my face show hurt and confusion. Defensive? But she never... we talked about work all the time. She knew about the Kozlov account because I confided in her. I trusted her with my fears about whether it was completely legal. Another glance between the agents. I could see doubt creeping into their expressions. "Are you saying your daughter misrepresented your conversations to us?" "I'm not saying anything against Lydia," I said quickly, protective mother mode engaging perfectly. "I'm just confused about why she'd think I was being secretive when I literally told her everything." I paused, letting a thought seem to occur to me naturally. "Unless... You don't think she might have had other reasons for contacting you, do you? Financial reasons?" Taurus frowned. "What do you mean?" "Well, I've been supporting Lydia and Garrett financially for years. The house payments, credit card debt, emergency loans. Maybe she hoped that if I got arrested, she'd inherit my assets instead of watching me spend them supporting their lifestyle?" The seed was planted. I watched it take root in their suspicious minds. "Your daughter never mentioned financial dependency," Chen said slowly. "Of course not. It would undermine her credibility as a concerned daughter, wouldn't it?" I let that hang in the air for a moment, then seemed to catch myself. "I'm sorry. I shouldn't be speculating about Lydia's motives. I'm sure she was just worried about me." But the damage was done. I could see them reassessing everything Lydia had told them through a new lens, the lens of greed rather than concern. "Mrs. Cross," Taurus said carefully, "how much money have you given your daughter over the past 2 years?" I pretended to think as if I hadn't calculated this number to the penny months ago. Oh my, between the house payments, emergency loans, credit card bailouts, probably close to $300,000. Both agents sat back in their chairs. $300,000 was serious money, enough to kill for, certainly enough to betray for. "She never mentioned being financially dependent on you," Chen repeated. "Would you if you were trying to convince federal agents that your only motive was protecting a family member?" I leaned forward, my voice dropping to a whisper. "Agents, I need to tell you something, but it has to stay between us. I can't have Lydia finding out I told you this." They leaned in eagerly. "I think Lydia might be in more financial trouble than she's admitted to me. Last month, I found out she'd taken out a second mortgage on the house I've been paying for. When I confronted her about it, she broke down crying and said Garrett had gambling debts. Serious debts." This was partially true. Garrett did have gambling debts. What I didn't mention was that Lydia had told me about them in confidence, trusting me to help solve the problem. "How serious?" Taurus asked. She was terrified. "Said they owed money to people who don't accept late payments. I gave her $50,000 to make the problem go away." All true. All documented. All discoverable if they investigated. Did she ask for more money recently? Every few weeks. There was always some emergency, some crisis only money could solve. I let my voice get smaller, more vulnerable. I was starting to worry that I was being taken advantage of. But she's my daughter. What was I supposed to do? I could see the narrative forming in their minds. Desperate daughter with gambling-addicted husband decides to eliminate her financial problems by eliminating her source of support and claiming the inheritance. "Mrs. Cross, we're going to need documentation of all the financial support you've provided to your daughter." "Of course. I keep detailed records. My accountant insisted on it for tax purposes." What they didn't know was that those records would show a pattern of escalating requests, increasingly creative emergencies, and a daughter who'd become more demanding and less grateful with each financial rescue. There's something else, I said, as if the thought had just occurred to me. The timing of Lydia's first contact with you. Wasn't that right after I told her I was considering changing my will? Dead silence in the room. I'd been thinking about setting up a trust for my grandchildren instead of leaving everything directly to Lydia, to make sure the money went to their education and welfare rather than other things. Taurus's pen had stopped moving across his notepad. When did you have this conversation with your daughter? About a week before her first call to your office, I believe. She seemed upset about it, asked a lot of questions about how trusts work, whether they could be challenged. Pure fiction, but unprovable fiction. The timeline would check out. The motive was crystal clear. She never mentioned your estate planning to us. Well, she wouldn't, would she? It would completely undermine her credibility as a concerned daughter rather than a greedy heir. I sat back, letting them process this information. Then I delivered the killing blow. Agents, I think my daughter might have set me up. Sunday evening, I sat in my hotel room and made the first call in what would become a symphony of destruction. Garrett, it's Mom. I need to talk to you about something important. Lydia's husband sounded tired, probably hungover from whatever he'd been drinking while his wife destroyed my life. Hey, Mom, Lydia's not here right now. She's at some FBI meeting downtown. They called her in for more questions. Perfect. She was probably trying to explain why she'd never mentioned being financially dependent on me. Actually, I wanted to talk to you about the mortgage payments I've been making on your house. Silence stretched across the phone line. I could practically hear him sobering up. The thing is, Garrett, I've been thinking about my financial situation. With all this legal trouble, I'm going to need to liquidate some assets. The house, for instance. What house? His voice had gone very small. Your house, sweetheart. The one where the mortgage is in my name because your credit was too poor to qualify. The one I've been paying for the past 2 years while you and Lydia pretended it was yours. I could hear him breathing heavily, probably calculating how long they could survive without my support. Mom, you can't. Actually, I can. I have 30 days to give you notice, and then the house goes on the market. I've already called a realtor. She thinks we can get asking price in this market. The silence that followed was delicious. I could imagine him looking around the house, their sanctuary, and realizing it had all been an illusion built on my generosity. Where will we go? He whispered. I'm sure Lydia's FBI payments will help with a security deposit somewhere. Ask her about the $12,000 she's earned selling out her mother. She might not have mentioned that part. Garrett made a choking sound. 12,000? Oh, you didn't know? Your wife has been quite the entrepreneur. Recording family conversations pays better than I expected. I let that sink in for a moment, imagining his growing understanding of who he'd married. Garrett, can I ask you something? When did Lydia first mention being worried about my business activities? What? It's just that the FBI says she called them months ago, but I don't remember her ever expressing concerns to me. Did she talk to you about it first? Another long pause. She said she was worried you were getting involved with dangerous people, but that was only after... After what? After you mentioned changing your will. She was really upset about that trust thing you wanted to set up. Bingo. Even Garrett was putting the pieces together. She recorded your conversations, Garrett. Did you know that? She recorded private family conversations and sold them to the government. She what? Every phone call, every visit, every moment I thought we were having a genuine mother-daughter conversation was being documented for federal agents. For money. I could hear something breaking in his voice. I didn't know. She never told me about any money. $12,000, Garrett. She earned $12,000 betraying her own mother, and she never shared a penny with you. Jesus Christ. So while you were struggling with gambling debts, while you were coming to me for emergency loans, your wife was building a secret income stream by destroying our family. I hung up and immediately called Lydia's bank. The bank where I'd been listed as a joint account holder since she was 18, when I'd helped her establish credit. The same bank where her FBI cooperation payments had been deposited. Hi, this is Evangeline Cross. I need to make a withdrawal from the joint account I share with my daughter, Lydia Cross Mitchell. 20 minutes later, Lydia's account was empty. Every penny of her cooperation money, plus the savings I'd helped her accumulate over the years, was gone. The next call was to my attorney. Richard, it's Evangeline. I need you to file an emergency motion in family court. Yes, tonight. I'm requesting immediate custody of my grandchildren based on unstable housing and parental unfitness. By Monday morning, Lydia had lost her house, her savings, and her children in a single weekend. But I wasn't finished. Monday brought a visit to Lydia's employer, the prestigious financial consulting firm where she'd worked for 3 years, building a reputation for discretion and client confidentiality. Ms. Veronica Thorne, I'm Evangeline Cross. I believe my daughter Lydia works for you. Veronica was a sharp woman in her 50s, exactly the kind of person who'd understand the implications of what I was about to tell her. Of course, Mrs. Cross. Lydia's mentioned you several times. She's one of our most trusted employees. That's actually what I wanted to discuss with you. You see, Lydia has been recording conversations with me for federal agents. The problem is, I'm also one of your clients. The color drained from Veronica's face. I'm sorry, what? My daughter has been secretly recording our private conversations for months and providing them to the FBI. Conversations where I discussed my business affairs, my other professional relationships, my financial strategies, all privileged information that your firm was supposed to protect. Veronica sat down heavily. Are you certain about this? I placed a folder on her desk. FBI documentation of Lydia's cooperation, including transcripts of our recorded conversations. You'll notice they contain detailed information about several of your other clients. She opened the folder with trembling hands. As she read, her expression shifted from shock to horror to fury. This is corporate espionage, she said finally. At minimum, your clients trust you to protect their confidential information. Instead, one of your employees has been secretly recording family members who are also clients and selling that information to federal agents. She's fired. Immediately. I would also recommend a full investigation into what other client information she might have compromised. The FBI cooperation is documented, but who knows what else she's been recording? Veronica was already reaching for her phone. Security will escort her out within the hour. Oh, and Veronica? I'll be filing a lawsuit against Lydia for industrial espionage and breach of fiduciary duty. The damages could be substantial. You might want to make sure your firm isn't named as a co-defendant. I left that office knowing Lydia's career in financial consulting was over. Her reputation in the industry would be destroyed within days. Tuesday brought another phone call. Child Protective Services? I'd like to report concerns about my grandchildren's welfare. Their parents are now homeless and unemployed, and I have reason to believe they're involved in ongoing federal investigations. Tuesday afternoon brought a knock on Lydia's temporary hotel room door. She answered it looking haggard, dark circles under her eyes, wearing the same clothes from 2 days ago. Standing in the hallway was her ex-boss, Veronica, flanked by 2 security guards. Hello, Lydia. We need to discuss your recent FBI cooperation. Lydia's face went white. How did you? Your mother called our compliance department. Turns out when you work for a financial consulting firm, informing on clients, even family members, constitutes a massive conflict of interest. Industrial espionage, actually. The security guards stepped forward. We need your company laptop, your key card, and your parking pass. You can't fire me for reporting criminal activity. Lydia's voice cracked with desperation. Veronica smiled coldly. We're not firing you for reporting criminal activity. We're firing you for secretly recording conversations with clients while employed here. Your mother wasn't just your family. She was our client. Every conversation you recorded with her was a violation of attorney-client privilege and corporate espionage. Lydia's mouth opened and closed soundlessly. She was finally understanding the full scope of what she'd done. Oh, and Lydia? Your mother's attorney has informed us she's planning to sue you for industrial espionage. The damages could be substantial. We'll be cooperating fully with her legal team. As the security guards escorted Lydia from the building, I watched from my car across the street. She looked so small, so defeated, clutching a cardboard box of personal items like it was a life preserver. But I still wasn't finished. That afternoon, I placed my most devastating call yet. Agent Torres? It's Evangeline Cross. I've been thinking about our conversation yesterday, and I remembered something important about the Kozlov account. What kind of something? Well, I've been going through my files, and I found some recordings of my own, from before Lydia started her cooperation with you. Silence on the other end of the line. What kind of recordings, Mrs. Cross? Conversations with Lydia, where she specifically asks me to take on questionable clients, where she encourages me to bend financial regulations, where she suggests ways to hide money transfers from federal oversight. This was a complete fabrication, but Torres couldn't prove that without hearing the alleged recordings. You're saying your daughter encouraged your illegal activities? I'm saying the recordings tell a very different story from the one she's been sharing with you. They show a daughter who was actively pushing her mother into criminal behavior, then documenting that behavior for profit. We'll need to hear these recordings. Of course. But Agent Torres, there's something else. Something that might explain why Lydia was so eager to cooperate with you. I'm listening. I think she might have been working with the actual criminals, the real money launderers. I think she set me up as a fall guy to protect the people she's really working with. The silence stretched for nearly a minute. That's a very serious accusation, Mrs. Cross. I know, but think about it. Who benefits most from my arrest? Not justice. The real criminals get a scapegoat, and Lydia gets paid twice. Once by them for setting me up, and once by you for providing the evidence. Do you have proof of this? I have bank records showing deposits to Lydia's account that don't match your cooperation payments. Larger amounts from offshore accounts. I have recorded conversations where she admits to being in contact with other interested parties regarding my business. More fiction, but compelling fiction. The kind that would make federal agents very, very nervous about their star informant. Mrs. Cross, we're going to need you to come in immediately. This changes everything. Wednesday morning, Lydia's world collapsed completely. She woke up in her hotel room to find FBI agents at her door. Not Torres this time, but internal affairs investigators, looking into whether she'd been playing both sides. Miss Cross Mitchell, you're under investigation for conspiracy, fraud, and obstruction of justice. We have evidence suggesting you may have been working with the criminal organization you claim to have been helping us investigate. While Lydia tried to explain herself to federal investigators, Child Protective Services was removing Iris and Phoenix from Garrett's mother's house. My emergency custody petition had been approved. By noon, Lydia was unemployed, homeless, penniless, and had lost custody of her children. She finally called me, her voice broken and desperate. Mom, please. We need to talk. Of course, sweetheart. Where would you like to meet? Anywhere. Please. I'm staying at the Motel 6 on Highway 9. I've lost everything. I'll be right there. Wednesday evening, I found Lydia sitting on the bed in a dingy motel room, surrounded by everything she owned, which wasn't much. Her eyes were red-rimmed, her designer clothes wrinkled and stained. The confident woman who'd been recording family conversations for profit had been replaced by a broken shell. Mom, I'm so sorry. I never meant for it to go this far. I sat down in the single chair, studying my daughter's face. The performance mask was completely gone now. This was pure, raw desperation. Tell me, Lydia, when exactly did you plan to stop? She looked confused. Stop what? The recordings. The FBI cooperation. When were you planning to say, that's enough, I've betrayed my mother sufficiently? I thought they'd realize you weren't really guilty and leave you alone. For $12,000, you thought they'd just give up? Her face crumpled. How did you know about the money? Because unlike you, I don't make important decisions based on emotions. I investigate. I plan. I prepare for contingencies. I leaned forward, watching her carefully. Did you know that every conversation we had for the past 8 months was recorded? Not just by you, by me too. The blood drained from her face. Did you know that the Kozlov account was an FBI sting operation from the beginning? That I've been cooperating with federal authorities for over a year, helping them catch actual money launderers? Lydia's mouth fell open. That's impossible. Did you know that your anonymous tip to the FBI landed directly on the desk of the same agent who'd been working with me? Agent Torres found your cooperation quite amusing, actually. You're lying. But her voice carried no conviction. The FBI needed someone on the inside of the money laundering operation, someone with a clean record who could move freely in financial circles, someone whose own daughter might try to expose them, giving them perfect cover. I stood up, looking down at her stunned face. You didn't expose me, Lydia. You gave me the perfect alibi. A concerned daughter trying to protect her mother looks so much more convincing than a planned federal operation. The truth hit her like a physical blow. You used me? You used yourself. I just let you. Her voice came out in a broken whisper. The house, my job, the kids. All consequences of your choices. All preventable if you'd simply trusted your mother instead of selling her out for money. I walked toward the door, then paused. Oh, and Lydia? The FBI doesn't actually pay informants $12,000 for family tips. That money came from me. I wanted to see how much your betrayal was worth to you. What? She looked like I'd slapped her. I had Agent Torres deposit my own money into an FBI account, then transfer it to you as cooperation payments. I wanted to know if my daughter would sell me out for money, and if so, how much it would take. The devastation on her face was complete. You set me up? You set yourself up. I just provided the rope. I reached for the door handle, then turned back one last time. The children are with me now. Iris starts at a new school on Monday. Phoenix has his first soccer practice on Saturday. They'll have stability, education, and a future. Everything you threw away for $12,000 of your own mother's money. Please, she whispered, don't take my babies. I'm not taking them. I'm protecting them. From a mother who would rather destroy her family than ask for help. From a mother who records private conversations for profit. From a mother who puts her greed above her children's welfare. I opened the door, then delivered the final blow. Your children will grow up knowing exactly what kind of person you are. They'll know you sold out their grandmother for money. They'll know you put them in foster care because your betrayal was more important than their stability. I paused in the doorway. But don't worry, Lydia. I'll make sure they understand that some people are just built differently. Some people choose family. Others choose money. I closed the door behind me, leaving her alone with the consequences of her choices. 6 months later, I received a letter from Lydia. She'd moved across the country, found work as a waitress, was sharing a 2-bedroom apartment with another single mother. Garrett had filed for divorce and signed away his parental rights rather than face the legal complications of being married to a federal target. She wanted to apologize. She wanted to explain. She wanted forgiveness. The letter was 8 pages long, filled with remorse and promises and desperate pleas to see her children. She swore she'd learned her lesson, that she understood now what really mattered, that money meant nothing compared to family. I read the letter twice, then filed it away without responding. People ask me if I feel guilty about destroying my daughter's life. They ask if the punishment fit the crime. They wonder if a mother should ever turn her back on her child so completely. What they don't understand is that Lydia destroyed her own life. She made calculated decisions based on greed and betrayal. Every consequence she faced was a direct result of choices she made freely, with full knowledge of right and wrong. I didn't punish her. I simply removed my protection. For 31 years, I'd been her safety net, her financial backup, her emotional support system. I'd shielded her from the natural consequences of her poor decisions, enabled her selfishness, and taught her that betrayal came without cost. The FBI operation was real. My cooperation was genuine. The money laundering ring was successfully dismantled, and several actual criminals went to prison. Agent Torres recommended me for a civilian commendation for my undercover work. But Lydia never bothered to ask about any of that. She was too busy calculating how much my downfall might be worth. I learned something profound during those months. Love without boundaries isn't love at all. It's enablement. Real love sometimes requires letting people face the full consequences of their choices, even when those consequences are devastating. Iris and Phoenix are thriving now. Iris made honor roll last semester. Phoenix scored 3 goals in his championship soccer game. They ask about their mothers sometimes, but not as often as you might expect. Children are remarkably adaptable when they have stability and genuine care. I've told them the truth about what happened in age-appropriate terms. They know their mother made choices that hurt the family. They know she chose money over trust. They know that actions have consequences, even for people we love. Most importantly, they know that some relationships can't be repaired, and that's okay. They know that cutting toxic people out of your life, even family, isn't cruel. It's necessary. Now I live quietly, comfortably, surrounded by people who value loyalty over opportunity. My grandchildren are learning what healthy relationships look like. They're learning that trust is earned, that family bonds require mutual respect, and that love is about actions, not words. I sleep well at night, knowing that every relationship in my life is built on genuine foundation rather than calculated advantage. No one in my circle is recording our conversations. No one is feeding information to outside parties. No one is measuring our friendship's cash value. Sometimes the greatest gift you can give someone is letting them experience the full weight of their choices. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is step back and let consequences teach the lessons that words never could. Lydia is learning those lessons now. She's discovering what life looks like without a safety net, without someone to bail her out of every crisis, without the luxury of betraying people who love her. Her second letter arrived 3 months after the first. This one was shorter, angrier. She accused me of being vindictive, of punishing her too harshly, of destroying her life over a misunderstanding. She threatened to take me to court for grandparents' rights, to expose my lies to the media, to make me pay for what I'd done to her. I didn't respond to that letter either. The third letter came last week, just 2 paragraphs this time. She's lost another job. Apparently, her background check revealed the federal investigation, even though charges were never filed. She's struggling to pay rent. She's alone. But buried in those 2 paragraphs was something different. The first genuine acknowledgement of responsibility I'd seen from her in 31 years. I know I hurt you, she wrote. I know I made choices that destroyed our family. I'm not asking for forgiveness because I don't deserve it. I just want you to know that I finally understand what I lost. I've read that letter a dozen times, looking for the manipulation, the angle, the hidden agenda. But I can't find one. Maybe prison taught her something. Maybe losing everything finally showed her the difference between consequences and cruelty. Or maybe she's just gotten better at seeming genuine. Either way, it doesn't matter. Some bridges, once burned, can't be rebuilt. Some trust, once broken, can't be repaired. Some relationships, once poisoned by betrayal, can't be cleansed. Iris brought home a project last week, a family tree she'd made for school. She included me, her father, her brother, her friends, even our neighbors. She left one branch completely empty. That's where Mom would go, she said matter-of-factly. But she's not part of our family anymore. No sadness, no anger, just acceptance of reality. Phoenix nodded in agreement. Some people aren't safe to love, he said, repeating words I'd taught him. And that's okay. These children understand something their mother never learned, that family isn't about blood. It's about loyalty, trust, and mutual respect. It's about people who protect each other instead of exploiting each other. They're growing up strong, confident, and secure. They'll never wonder if someone they love is recording their conversations. They'll never question whether their vulnerabilities are being sold to the highest bidder. They'll never have to learn as adults that their own mother valued money more than their welfare. I gave them that gift by removing their mother from their lives. I gave them the gift of knowing that the people who claim to love them actually do. Last month, Agent Torres called to thank me again for my cooperation in the money laundering investigation. The case had led to 17 arrests and the recovery of over $40 million in stolen assets. Your daughter's cooperation was actually crucial, he said. Without her recordings, we might never have convinced the other targets that you were genuinely criminal rather than undercover. Her betrayal sold the whole operation. Even in her treachery, Lydia had unknowingly served justice. The irony wasn't lost on me. What happened to her? Torres asked. I heard she moved away. She's learning to live with her choices, I said, just like everyone else. Any regrets about how it all played out? I looked out my window at Iris and Phoenix playing in the backyard, their laughter carrying on the wind. They were building a fort, working together, trusting each other completely. None, I said. Not a single one. When I hung up, I realized something profound. I was happy. Genuinely, deeply happy in a way I hadn't been in years. The constant worry was gone, the fear that Lydia would create another crisis, another emergency, another catastrophe that would require my intervention. The walking on eggshells feeling had disappeared. I no longer had to wonder if my private thoughts were being documented and sold. I no longer had to question whether my daughter's affection was genuine or performative. For the first time in decades, every relationship in my life was real. That evening, as I tucked my grandchildren into bed, Iris asked me a question that broke my heart and healed it simultaneously. "Grandma, will you promise never to record our conversations?" I kissed her forehead, breathing in the sweet scent of her shampoo. "I promise, sweetheart, what we say to each other stays between us. Always." "Good," she said, settling into her pillow. "That's how families are supposed to work." Yes, I thought. That's exactly how families are supposed to work. Some people might call what I did to Lydia cruel. They might say I went too far, that I should have forgiven her, that blood is thicker than water. But they're wrong about blood. Loyalty is thicker than blood. Trust is thicker than blood. Love, real love, not the manipulative kind, is thicker than blood. Lydia chose to thin her blood with betrayal. She chose to water down our relationship with greed. She chose to poison our family bond with deception. I simply chose not to drink from that poisoned well anymore. And in doing so, I saved my grandchildren from drowning in it. The greatest gift I ever gave my family was showing them that some people, even mothers, even daughters, are too dangerous to love. Some relationships are too toxic to preserve. Some bridges are better left burned. And sometimes, the most loving thing you can do is walk away and never look back. I sleep peacefully now, knowing I made the right choice. My grandchildren are safe, loved, and learning what healthy relationships look like. Lydia is learning what consequences look like. And somewhere in the distance between those two truths lies the difference between justice and revenge, between protection and punishment, between real love and enabling. I chose justice. I chose protection. I chose real love. I chose my grandchildren's future over my daughter's past. And I would make the same choice again, without hesitation, every single time.